It was August 3, 2016. Emirates Flight 521 was minutes away from landing at Dubai International Airport. It was a routine flight from Thiruvananthapuram, India. The skies were clear, runway was dry. On board were 282 passengers and 18 crew members, a total of 300 souls inside a Boeing 777. Everything appeared normal, but what no one knew, not the pilots, not the cabin crew, not the families waiting at the airport, was that this landing would turn into a nightmare. In just under 90 seconds, everything unraveled. When the aircraft made contact with the runway, the nose rose back up. The engine screamed. In a split-second decision, the pilots tried to abort the landing. However, a massive explosion shook the tarmac. Black smoke rose into the sky. Inside, it was chaos. What caused the crash? Was it human error or something more? This is the shocking true story of Emirates Flight 521. It was the morning of August 3, 2016. Emirates Flight 521 was scheduled to fly a short-haul route from Thiruvananthapuram International Airport in southern India to Dubai International Airport in the United Arab Emirates. The flight was considered routine, just under 4 hours in the air. The aircraft assigned for this journey was a Boeing 777-300, a large twin-engine wide-body jet known for its reliability. The specific plane had been in service for over 12 years and was registered as a 6EMW. On board were 282 passengers from 20 different nationalities, along with 18 crew members, pilots, flight attendants, and support staff, all trained for any emergency. The cockpit was manned by 2 experienced pilots. The captain, a 34-year-old UAE national, had over 7,000 flight hours, including more than 4,000 hours on the Boeing 777. The first officer, a 37-year-old Australian named Jeremy Webb, had logged around 3,000 flight hours. Before we dive into what went wrong, make sure to hit that like button. It helps more people discover these deep dive aviation stories. It was a busy travel day, but there was no indication that anything unusual was ahead. After a short delay of 29 minutes, the Boeing 777-300 pushed back from the gate. At 10:34 a.m. Indian Standard Time, it rolled down the runway and smoothly lifted into the sky, heading toward Dubai International Airport. Inside the cabin, passengers from various nationalities were settling into their seats. Some chatted softly, others dozed off, sipped their drinks, or flipped through in-flight magazines. The crew members moved through the aisles with practiced ease, offering service and ensuring safety protocols were followed. In the cockpit, the experienced flight crew followed standard procedures. All systems appeared normal. The aircraft climbed to its cruising altitude without incident, flying over the Arabian Sea under clear skies. The flight progressed without turbulence, and everything seemed routine, even predictable. But as Flight 521 neared Dubai, the weather changed. Temperatures on the ground soared to a blistering 48 degrees Celsius. Heat shimmered across the tarmac, and wind shear warnings began to circulate among air traffic control. Yet, Flight 521 was cleared to land on runway 12. The aircraft was now descending into a city of steel and glass. But beneath the surface, atmospheric conditions were unstable. What followed next would become one of the most dramatic near disasters in commercial aviation history. At 12:37 p.m. GST, Boeing 777-300 made its initial contact with the runway. 1,100 meters into the 4,351-meter-long runway. It touched down at about 186 miles per hour, faster than ideal due to the wind shear. Only 2 seconds later, the onboard runway awareness and advisory system issued a warning. Long landing. The pilots immediately made the decision to go around, to abort the landing and attempt another approach. At that moment, the aircraft was already partially on the ground. The main wheels touched down, but the nose gear hadn't. The pilots pulled back to lift off again. The flaps were set to 20, and the landing gear was retracted. But one critical thing didn't happen. The auto throttle system didn't activate. Why? Because once a plane is touched down, the automatic go-around feature is disabled. As a result, the engines remained at idle power even as the plane tried to lift off. For a moment, the aircraft climbed to 85 feet, barely the height of a 7-story building. But the airspeed dropped rapidly. 12 seconds after the initial bounce into the air, the pilots manually pushed throttles to maximum power, but it was too late. 3 seconds later, the Boeing plunged back to the runway, now with its landing gear partially retracted. The plane struck the runway hard, tail first. The rear fuselage slammed into the ground, and the aircraft skidded for about 800 meters, twisting to the right at a 120 angle. During this terrifying slide, the right engine ripped off. Tearing across the wing's leading edge and spinning toward the wingtip, flames erupted. But amid the chaos, the crew performed admirably. Within 90 seconds, firefighters arrived and began attacking the flames. All 300 people on board, including 282 passengers and 18 crew members, escaped alive. However, shocking videos later revealed passengers delaying evacuation to grab their carry-on luggage. Despite repeated warnings, this resulted in a dangerously prolonged evacuation and harsh public backlash. Then came the final blow. 9 minutes after the plane came to a stop, with only the captain and a senior flight attendant still on board performing a final sweep, the fire reached the center fuel tank. It exploded with terrifying force. Firefighter Jassim Al-Balushi, a resident of Ras Al Khaimah, was killed in the blast. He was the only fatality. 7 other firefighters suffered injuries, mostly from heat stroke. The fire raged for 16 hours, consuming the fuselage and reducing the once glorious Boeing 777 to a scorched skeleton. The airport was closed for hours, and dozens of incoming flights were diverted. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell so you never miss stories like this. Now, let's dive into what really happened next. In the wake of the harrowing crash, the General Civil Aviation Authority of the United Arab Emirates immediately launched an investigation. They were joined by several key players: Emirates Airline, Boeing, Rolls-Royce, and a 5-member team from the United States National Transportation Safety Board. On the day following the crash, investigators retrieved the flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder from the charred remains of the Boeing 777. These black boxes would prove crucial in piecing together the chain of events. In September 2016, a preliminary report was released. It confirmed that the flight crew had attempted a go-around after touchdown. However, the landing gear was in the process of retracting when the aircraft slammed back onto the runway, a catastrophic error. An interim report was published in August 2017, but it would take nearly 4 years before the final report was completed and released on February 6, 2020. The final report pointed to a sobering reality. The crash was not caused by mechanical failure. It was primarily the result of human error, misjudgment, and over-reliance on automation. The investigation uncovered these key points. The flight crew failed to properly monitor vital flight data during the landing and go-around. When the commander pressed the takeoff go-around switch, the auto-throttle system did not respond. It was a fact the crew failed to notice in time. The thrust levers never advanced to provide sufficient power for the go-around, and the plane lost lift. The report concluded the flight crew's reliance on automation and lack of real-world training for go-arounds from near runway levels significantly compromised their performance in a high-stress situation. This revealed a critical gap in training. The crew had practiced go-arounds in simulators, but never in conditions where the aircraft had already touched the runway. When it happened in real life, they were unprepared. Immediately after the crash, Dubai International Airport, one of the world's busiest, was forced to shut down for over 5.5 hours. The ripple effects were massive. Dozens of incoming flights were diverted to Abu Dhabi, Sharjah, and Al Maktoum international airports. Emirates and Flydubai had to cancel numerous flights. More than 23,000 passengers were directly affected. By 6:30 p.m. local time, the airport reopened at reduced capacity, operating only one runway. Departures were limited, and arrivals were prioritized to manage the heavy backlog. The damaged runway was repaired and reopened by 5:45 p.m. on August 4th. But normal operations only resumed on August 6th. 3 full days after the crash, a gesture of goodwill, Emirates offered $7,000 in compensation to each of the 282 passengers' $2004 lost luggage and belongings, and $5,000 for other damages or trauma they may have suffered. At the end, Emirates Flight 521 was a chilling reminder that even the most advanced aircraft and skilled crews can be vulnerable when human judgment falters under pressure. One misstep, one missed signal, and disaster can strike in seconds. A plane destroyed, hundreds of lives narrowly saved. One brave firefighter paid the ultimate price. And all of it unfolded not because of engine failure, but because a crucial detail was overlooked in a moment of confusion. What do you think is more dangerous? Mechanical failure or human error under pressure? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We're reading every one of them. Until next time, fly safe, stay curious.